Good morning and welcome back to Tom's Tourney here in Bruges, and we are into semi-final play in the women's division. Yaka from France, CUSB from the Italian city of Bologna. Tom Stiles alongside Rachel Douglas with you here under bright blue skies, but a little breeze to deal with as well.
Yeah, breeze is a little bit stronger this morning. I think the other days of the tournament we've seen it quite still to start, and then perhaps it picking up over the day. Starting today with a little bit of a breeze, teams are going to have to make sure they come out already well adjusted in this semi-final game. That's going to be a really heated match between two incredible women's teams.
Yes, the other semi-final being played elsewhere is Ruth versus Jinx, and both those, well, the top 6 teams in this women's division, all of them could have been here legitimately. No one would have batted an eyelid. So very, very high quality. The elite ultimate European favourite tournament, Tom's Tourney, has had a couple of years off due to COVID, but everybody is delighted to be back. One of the most friendly, well-run, well-organised, hospitable tournaments you could ever come across. And we're ready to get going as the disc flies through the sky, and it's just going to drift out of bounds. Watched carefully.
Very unfortunate. It looked like that was going to come in, but just at that last minute, just about a metre off the ground, it tailed out. So CUSB bricking that, and will bring it in the middle of the field.
Vagliarani watching the disc fly out the side, and Yaka in red, CUSB in the white shirts. I think there's there's 2 18s. I think I know the other one though, so that's okay. Vagliarani now gets it back across to Bonfanti. Now back to, and a run through block from Maria Castillo from Yaka, knocking that to the ground. And strolling forward to pick up is Mondiaux. Castillo the target straight away, and mistake, butters off the top of her fingers and into grateful hands of the shout receiver, catching that, sweeping it up, getting it going again. Chesky swings it back around here. Chiara Frangipani. Now down to Vagliarani. Back to Frangipani. Bonfanti sends it, and now into the end zone. Chesky chasing it down. She's going to have to go big with one hand, slides across the ground and picks herself up. Very wet turf out here this morning, but she's survived in one piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Making a good effort to try and get there for that disc. Perhaps a little bit more aggressive than Shout need to be at this moment. Yeah, solid effort, putting a hand out, but unfortunately not able to get underneath it. Maybe just need to take a second and not get too focused on the end zone there.
Castillo moving well up the field. I think that's Valet. She's wearing Mondiaux's spare shirt, but I think that's for Chloé Valet. Shout down with the zone now. Mondiaux, hammer across the top to Toussaint. Toussaint tries to put the long disc up. Van Week was the target, but it was picked off in flight. Chesky, quick exchange of discs. Onto this near side. Bonfanti into the end zone and dealt with. Impressive coverage from the French. It's back into their hands now.
Yeah, Toussaint doing a great job to get that turn back after perhaps not focusing enough on her pass downfield and causing a turn earlier in that point. Doing a great job there of hustling, making sure she doesn't let that go in, and giving Yaka with another chance.
Spreading the play now, Mondiaux with the expansive disc across the field. Chesky almost getting the block, but it stays in the hands of Toussaint. Now through the gaps. Van Week pauses. She's been a big target for Yaka this weekend. Valet. Across the far side of the field to Delaval. Huge handling presence in this French line. The team from Noisy-le-Sec in the suburbs of Paris. Mondiaux sends the hammer spiraling through the sky. There's going to be a lot of airtime on that. It's a misread by Van Week, and it's swept up out of the way. by Elena Bengi.
Lovely look from Mundio. I think that probably came out quite significantly higher than she'd intended. That needed to just get there that little bit faster to really hit that open target. The height of that hammer gave the defense a lot of time to get underneath it, and of course we saw CUSB doing a great job there to make sure that they weren't able to score that point.
Fast cuts out of the stack. Scazzieri going to ground now is Frangipani. Continues the flow to Sofia Scazzieri. Irene Scazzieri on the sideline chatting to us this morning, coming back from her ACL tear, so not playing in this game. She broke her ACL at here in Bruges at XEUCF in end of 2021, recovering, supporting the team as she does so, keeping her focused on her recovery. Her sister Sofia with the disc now, gets it back across to Pagliarani. Frangipani taking their time here. Shouts. They probably didn't want to start this game with so many turns, but again, the presence of Tisson running through to get the block. Shout looking a little tired. Mondio comes underneath for France. Castillo cranks the arm. It's got too much edge on it. It runs away from Valet. She'll be frustrated. She had the separation.
Again, another option that we see there, maybe just getting a little bit overexcited. I think that maybe a bit of frustration at this point. Both teams want to score it. They want to be able to get this out of the way and maybe come in stronger for the next point, reset. We're seeing quite a few turnovers, and I think each team have had an opportunity on goal that they've just come in a little bit too hard, a little bit too excited. Need to take a breath, reset. This is early in the game, early in the day. They really need to set the pace that they want to play at, and at the moment they're sort of a little bit rusty. Need to readjust.
Pagliarani at the back gets it across to Bonfanti. Casarini. That's disc has caught a little bit of air as well. Runs much closer to the sideline than she was hoping, but Scazzieri collects. And there's space opening up. I'm not sure if that was intended to Bengi, but she adjusted her run very well. Got across to take it. And keeping going here, Frangipani. Scazzieri's there. Tisson lurking again. Chesky. Pagliarani with the big bid, tries to get her hand to it but cannot collect, and it goes to ground. Big pressure on the defense. Tisson running, sends the disc forward. Van Week again the target, and just that pressure from Elena Bengi running through Van Week. The disc wasn't good, really. It should have led her into the space, and instead it just gave the chance for the defense to get there. But impressive chase down from Elena Bengi, involved in a couple of turns already. And this is the first point that neither team wanted. Occasionally find that when this line will now be tired. They've been out here for 6 or 7 minutes now. So nearly 8 minutes they've been on the clock. Scazzieri. Outstretched hand required to keep it alive from Frangipani. She has it back again now. Space through the middle. It's just beyond the outstretched hand of Sofia Scazzieri.
Very, very scrappy points so far. Both teams hustling, I think, putting a lot of effort to come in strong, come in with a hot defense, which we're definitely seeing. We're seeing turns being generated, but I think there's a lot that's within the offense's control on both sides that they don't need to be giving. They don't need to be giving some of these turnovers. So adjustments can be made, and I think whenever this point is finally put in, each team will be thinking on the line, how can we do this better the next time?
That's a nice disc across to Valet. creating a bit of space. Delaval to Castillo. They've started strong here. This is a very powerful line for the French. Hoping to maybe punch it in, but Bonfanti to Valet. Down the line. Sorry, that was not Bonfanti. That was Becker, my apologies. Castillo grabs high in the end zone for Yaka, eventually closing down this point and taking it in for the French team. Yaka scoring the opener here, but it was really messy, Rachel.
Yeah, we think we saw 11 turnovers in that point, in that opening point. Really tricky. A testament to the defense. I think each side put up a really strong defense, really putting a lot of pressure on, taking away options, but a lot there sort of in miscommunications or maybe a lack of focus and execution. Quite a few of those turnovers, I think, were within the team's control. So I think on both sides, they just need to take a moment, not let the fact that this is a semi-final at Tom's Tourney get in their heads, give themselves a breath and come out strong in this second point. Try and put this in a little bit swifter.
Yes, a hot start. You got to give a lot of respect to Caroline Toussaint, the number 5 shirt for Yaka, who is tearing it down, and Elena Bengi with 2 blocks apiece, those 2 players. Elena Bengi for CUSB Shouts, the team from Bologna.
Yeah, and Maria Castillo with the score there. She was a massive asset to Yaka yesterday and has been throughout this tournament. A big threat behind the disc, and as we see there, able to receive it in the end zone as well. So definitely someone to watch out for this game.
Yeah, CUSB, might just refresh my results screens. Not all of them were in there. Here on the sideline, Shouts getting it moving. Starting back with Frangipani. The Shouts O-line having a second run out. Paula Dull in the 85 shirt. 15 is Bancorti, and a travel called on Carmen Legala. See the figure of Rika Kerr marking with the 0 on her back. She had a very, very impressive game in yesterday's quarter-final. High disc, grabbed well. Frangipani sends it across. Pagliarani, and it goes to ground. Not Paulina Dull, the Polish World's Games player, playing in Italy at the moment. Oh, it was early game nerves, perhaps. There's nothing wrong with the pass. Maybe came at her a little bit quick, catching the sun off the top of the disc. But she'd be disappointed not to collect that. And Le Bon, the D-line for Yaka. It's a fresh set of legs. Complete, every player from that first point has gone off, whereas the Italians have kept some of their line. Paola Bass. Looking for a left-handed reset, couldn't find one. Eventually, high stall count. Kerr is underneath this, but so are a lot of Shout players. A big collision, and the disc finishes on the floor, which always looked likely from that position. Bass not able to find any distance with the disc, not able to find a early throw. With the high stall count running up, that was really the only thing that she could hit. Gaia Pancorti with the cut out of the stack.
Seeing a lot of travel calls so far in this game. I think that seems to be something that Yaka are really paying attention to, not going to let any additional movement outside of that pivot go. Something they're definitely paying attention to, and I think it'd be great if Shout are able to adjust and just make sure that their offense isn't getting disrupted by some of these calls.
There is a little breeze blowing towards us, and it's that breeze is quite chilly. Even in the sun, it's fine. So a very clear blue sky all over Bruges. out in the shade. The breeze is blowing up. Andrea Zenz gets it back to Anne Lebon. Into their end zone they go, and Shout are lurking now. They've got quick hands, and Paula Bass, we saw her having to make that emergency bailout throw. Yaka needing to work hard to get out of the end zone here. But don't forget, they started on defense in this point, and this would be a break if they can convert. So big spicy disc across the top. Bass reacts quickly. Offloads. It's more like the creative play we expect to see from her. The zone from Shout.
Yaka getting a taste of their own medicine here. We've seen them put a zone on many times this weekend. That's really pushed their opponents back, not giving them options downfield. It looks like Shout have come out with a similarly repressive zone and being very effective against the Yaka offense.
And still keeping the disc alive. Deban. Deban again. Center of the field. In terms of calmness, this is much better from Yaka. Turnover a lot in that first point, and now they're starting to find the gaps. Mounier gives it back. Bass the option again, Kerr up the line. It's low, it's a mistake from Bass. Looking to score quickly, but the offense from Shout looking to eventually put their goal in. Now there's space, now there's time. Down the line it goes, and Shout have eventually converted their second offensive point. But the pressure from Yaka building, and the Shout zone was really strong there, considering that was their O-line putting it on. They put the French, asked a lot of questions of the French there.
Absolutely, didn't give them any options downfield. Really having to move it, Yaka having to move it between their handlers, not able to get around that wall, not able to find their downfield cutters, having to keep moving it across laterally, moving backwards at different times, and then ultimately just wearing away at them until we saw Paula Bass trying to get that through the cup. And I believe that number 17, Loli, did manage to maybe get a little touch on that disc, and just able to close that gap, make it look like it's an option, but actually ultimately got the defense and put the score in quickly and cleanly.
Yeah, we are having a word with the Yaka players on the sideline there. We are aware that they are drifting in. The lines that Tom's Tourney organisers have painted have been well trodden on, and some of the players are sort of just drifting forward over the line. We know that prevents those front corner of the end zone being visible, so we will remind the players to stay off the lines. The big arm opens up. The disc flies through the sky. It's down into the hands of Tisson and Mondiaux in the center of the field for Yaka. And that's too high from Mondiaux. Flies across the top of Castillo's head. Nothing she could do. Just observe it disappearing out of bounds.
Just a bit of an execution error there. Not enough focus, not enough adjustment for the fact that it is a bit gusty. A bit too much force on that throw, and that's very unfortunate for Yaka. Shout now with a chance to put this one in.
Linies Siebert getting us going. Chesky into the end zone. Easy target. A break back to Shout. The Italians have rallied and capitalising on the French errors. Mondiaux's disc out of bounds is punished, and they were back on serve. 2-1 to Shout.
The Shout offense is looking really nice, really calm, really collected. They're finding a lot of space. They're getting free of their defenders, and they're taking a breath, taking good options. It seems like it's clicked for them, and it's great to see. Yaka maybe looking a little bit more awkward still, maybe haven't quite adjusted yet, haven't come out and woken up and kind of really reached their full capacity at this stage of the game. If they want to stay in this, if they want to stay competing for a place in the final, they're really going to need to switch that on and focus up, because Shout is certainly doing that.
Yeah, we saw in our previous games, we've had Yaka on the stream a few times now this weekend. Just we don't design it like that. We try and make sure we've got a good mix. Myself and Boris, the tournament director, kind of sat down 3 weeks ago and picked out the games which we thought were going to go. But you know, live sport is live sport, and occasionally teams end up getting the luck of the draw and appearing on the stream. And we've not actually streamed Jinx yet, which is one of the teams that we're really excited to cover. We hope that we get a chance to do that. They've got the challenge of getting past Groot Ladies, who have been an informed team. Mondio spins the disc down to Van Week. The speedster in the 6th shirt, always deep, but does the job there of returning the disc to Mondio. It's behind Paula Bass, but she reacts quickly and into the end zone in a full flight, catching Anne Lebon, pacing into the corner and leveling it up at 2 apiece.
There's that nice, smooth offense that Yaka know that they can do. That's what they want to be delivering. They want to be coming out and not getting flustered by that defense, not getting caught back near their own end zone line. Very decisive play there, very smooth, calm, and of course just straight into the goal for a hold which was desperately needed.
Yeah, Yaka have had a mixed weekend on the stream, haven't they? They've when they flow like they did there, they look unstoppable, but they've shot themselves in the foot just a few too many times to be a big threat in the high pressure games. And I'm looking forward to seeing their season progress.
Struggling a little bit with consistency, I think. They know that they're one of the top teams here at this tournament and in Europe generally. They know that they can work and put pressure on at that level, but just struggling to feel that throughout the game and throughout each and every point. Seeing a few little disruptions in their offense, perhaps a few non-connections where they would usually see that coming through. So definitely I think this will be a great experience for them, and particularly since, as you mentioned, they have got a lot of footage coming out of this weekend. They're going to have a lot of material to go through and try and pinpoint what it is that they need to adjust moving forwards as they progress with their season.
The switch of that is so will their opponents. Coming into Cincinnati, the smart teams are going to be, you'll know weeks and weeks in advance if you're going to be facing Yaka, and the multi-TV coverage will be hot on your YouTube playlist, I've no doubt. Scazzieri now for Shout. Chesky goes to the knee and makes sure of that one. Low release, but it's well caught in stride by Pancotti. Sends the big fake to create a bit of space. Fast running from Andrea Zenz, given Chesky something to think about. Good flow forward into the corner. It's going to be too big. Not quite sure what Frangipani was looking at.
A little bit of overexcitement there. Close towards the end zone. Got a little bit of that sort of tunnel vision. Really wanted to get that score. Didn't think it was the right option. Not a lot of space. The receiver had sort of stopped and I think was going to come under, and then had to turn and make that deep cut into that back corner. A really challenging throw and really hard to make that connection, and unfortunately not able to pull it off that time. Yeah,
Frangipani has not had the best start to this game. That's her 3rd turnover already, providing a couple during that opening point. 11 turnovers in the opening point of this game, and another one to add to her tally there. That's not the number anyone wants to see add up on our stat sheet. We are tracking blocks and turnovers, assists and goals, so you can keep a track on where the action is happening. Tisson to Valet, flowing well. Delaval. Big fake, some contact made and called by Delaval. She tread on her foot. No complaints from Gaia Pancotti. It's establishing the... oh, she's contesting it. Okay, but they're shaking hands. They agree to disagree. Coming back in. Delaval. Inside break shot to Kerr. Delaval to Valet. Looks upfield, that's a very, very tight window to find Tisson. Tisson surveys the options, there aren't any. Delaval's cutting back, so's Valet. Almost some pressure with a poach off block. Valet finding space up the field, nearly in the end zone. Duban pops it forward and gets it into the hands of Andrea Zenz.
Great point there for Yaka, taking lovely inside shots right into the middle. Shouter on their shoulders every second, but Yaka doing really well there to be very precise and to hit those inside shots in exactly right in the gut of their intended receiver. Very safe, very well executed, and a nice decisive offensive point for Yaka there.
A defensive point, that was a break. It was a clean break after the turnover in the corner from the Frangipani throwaway. That's a break back for Yaka. So they broke in the opening point. They've got broken back in the third point, and they've broken again here. So it's a game of 2-point runs for both these teams. Myself, Tom Stiles, alongside Rachel Douglas, former Iceni and current sick player, taking a slightly injured opportunity to come to the commentary booth, and we're very grateful to have you with us.
Yeah, excellent to be here. Haven't played with Sick for a few seasons, but yeah, definitely still very much, my heart is with the team. I support them. Very happy to see how their season's going to progress. Unfortunately, they're not here with us this weekend, but you can catch them and lots of these other women's games, other women's teams at the London Invite in a few weeks, which will be some more high-level open and women's ultimate.
Yes, the invite tournaments have popped into the calendar. They're not standard, but in a World's Clubs year, Bologna and London both hosting invite-only sort of top eight. Top 8 teams get an invite and they get a chance to play. That disc running through the middle. Oh, big bid. It goes into the ground, jumps up. No one's hurt. That could have been a nasty one, but Castillo picks up and gets the disc quickly to Chesky. Chesky crossing over. Disc goes up, and she's just misread that. Gaia Pancotti came underneath when the disc was going over her head.
Amazing catch there from Pagliarani, really able to bring that down under huge defensive pressure from Maria Castillo. Unfortunately, followed up with a throwaway, but a great play there in the middle of the field. Becker
just putting an arm around her as they jumped up for that same disc. Elise Becker with the disc now. That one goes high. Again, there's an opportunity now, but the undercut, Van Week is available deep. She's got so much time and space, she's had to slow her cut down. Masses of separation for Van Week going deep, using the speed she has. Seems to spend a lot of the game in the deep space for Yaka, just kind of strolling around and waiting for a moment, but they know she's got that explosive turn of pace. Becker looking for Mondio on the reset, finds her. Cutting across to this near side is Cornier. Into the end zone, Paolo Bass sprints across, and it's another break to Yaka. The French have got 2 points in front now.
We're really seeing Yaka getting into their groove, which is great. Really competing for every single disc. Able to cut through that shout zone that's been really effective on the earlier points, but I think this point Yaka just said, no thank you, I think we're actually just going to put this one in nice and cleanly at the back. And really well done. Yeah, Yaka setting up with a lot of space. They had their cutters right back in the end zone, even though the disc was not very close to the end zone line. But of course, when you've got throwers like Mondio, they can just cut through that, make sure the disc gets there, and able to pass it to Paula Bass for the score.
So let's just run through some of the results from the tournament so far. CUSB beat Jinx in their opening game 11-8, but then lost to a streamed game here to London Masters Ultimate. London Masters Ultimate then lost to Jinx, so there was a three-way tie at the top of that pool. I asked some of the LMU players, what was it that made you lose to Jinx? He says, well, we gave it all to Shout. They won one. They didn't quite have the what it took to beat two of the top European teams in the same day. So there was a bit of a mix-up there. Power pools were then sorted out. Shout beating Freestyle Ladies, beating Seagulls, and beating Iceni yesterday to finish top of their pool. Yaka had a tricky power pool, beating London Masters Ultimate by 1 goal, beating Jinx by 2, but then losing to Krut Ladies on the streaming field. And that's how we ended up where we are here. So quarterfinals yesterday, and now into the semis. Big disc going up, lots of space, lots of time. Can Shout convert one here? Big pressure coming in from Daban, but they do have the time to get it stuffed into the corner. The 32 shirt of Carmen Lagala, the eventual target, and that's what they needed there.
Paulina doing a great job to see where the space is, timing her cut off of Anna Chesky receiving the disc, and Anna Chesky, of course, seeing the option open, calmly taking it, executing it perfectly, and Shout with a very nice offensive point for them. It's been a really exciting women's division here. We saw every single game that we've looked at has sort of been teams competing at the highest level, and we've seen a lot of movement within the seeding. So it really kind of speaks to how talented these players are, the high standard that they're competing at, and how it's really been anyone's game. Lots of movement throughout the seedings, and some upsets and some surprises. But yeah, very, very competitive division at Tom's here.
I don't think there's any unbeaten teams. I think everybody's taken a defeat. So it just shows you how, I mean, we were saying earlier, you could throw a blanket over the top 6 teams. So Hrut, Yaka, Jinx, Shout, Iceni and Seagulls, all very, very, and London Masters Ultimate, maybe the top 7 teams, you could throw a blanket over all of them. It really has been very, very exciting. And then you've got the Czech national team are in here as well. Desky, very highly seeded, but haven't really performed at the level that they would have wanted to. They were the 4th seeds coming into this tournament.
Desky did inform us that they are here on a hen party and to have a good time. So I think they've got some amazing athletes on that team, but also not maybe taking it quite as seriously as some of these other teams headed to Worlds.
Castillo, nice advancing throw to Becker. Keeping the back foot in, Van Week. There's a call on the field. Linear Ziebert just asking the question about feet, but it's been confirmed as in, and now there's a violation as one of the Yaka players sets off a little bit too quickly. Anne Lebon getting on the bike before the bike was ready to start. Now we're back in. Van Week looking for the reset to Becker. Needed to be good. The defensive pressure, I think, I'm going to put that one down as a Eleanor Bengi D. She was just so close to Becker. Van Week's disc had to be stretching, and it stretched a little bit too far. The elastic breaking, and it's back in the hands of Shout with a chance. This will be a break back to bring it all back to 4-all. Bengi again having a great game out here, finding the pass and finding the receiver. Charlotte Terresson catching and bringing it, leveling it up at 4 apiece.
Huge defensive pressure there from Chris. I think you're absolutely right. That was definitely a turnover as a result of a really big force on the thrower and a really tight mark on the Hannah trying to make that cut and get free. Having to move into the backfield to try and receive that. The margins were tight. They were right up against the end zone line. CUSB knowing that they're going to have to take a tight option there and punishing them for it.
It was interesting seeing Van Week after that little delay where she had question about whether the feet were in. When the cut from Becker came in, she locked eyes on, that was the shot she was going to go for. And I don't think it was on. With Eleanor Bengi right on the shoulder, it was going to be tight, and it just got tighter as Eleanor Bengi closed in. Eventual turnover resulted.
Yeah, very, very tight option, challenging option to get off the line in those sorts of angles. That sort of cut that's almost like parallel to the sideline means that there's only really one area where the disc and the receiver is going to intersect. So it really has to be pinpoint, and that's incredibly difficult to do when you have that sort of defensive pressure on. I agree. I think maybe that wasn't the look that should have been taken. Very hard to execute, and I think that Shout were almost always going to get a turn there if you take that option.
Yeah, Esther Van Week, it's always lurking deep, such a threat with her pace. Don't tend to find her handling very much. So she generally doesn't need to because she's just caught a point. Tissot to do Delaval. Tissot available and the cutting across now, and she receives it. Using her pace and her strong hands to throw it. Valet underneath this one, chasing it down. She's going to get there. She can't get there. It was just going away from her. The wind pushing it all the way. Tissot's disc not quite got the touch on it that it needed to.
That's a real shame. That was a really nice option, and that was a beautiful throw. If she'd just given her cutter maybe an extra moment, an extra second, an extra breath, that they would have come down with that one, but just pushing that a little bit too hard, a little bit too excited, and they're not able to connect, and so it's a chance for a break here for Shout.
Tissot having a good game, 2 blocks, but that one will go down in the throwaway pile. Oh, almost got a hand to that. That was very, very close. Big disc gone up now, but there's going to be some pressure underneath this. Red, almost red. Oh, and a clattering of hands and heads, and that comes down, but it's Bunose, who eventually comes down with the disc, having read it better in the pile of humanity underneath the disc. Shout resetting. Paulina Dole in the middle. On the far side is Gaia Pancotti. It's Dole with it now. Oh, just drops it onto the floor. Pagliarani won't be happy with that. She got a face like thunder after, so cross with herself. A incredibly passionate player, now given the job of chasing Tissot as she advances into the end zone. Kerr with the disc. Delaval shoots underneath. This time the connection is perfect, locked on tight. Delaval just drops the shoulder and flicks the wrist. Valet available, and that's a hold for Yaka.
Amazing throw there from Delaval, really precise. She saw her option, she knew exactly how to get it to her, as you say, dropped her shoulder, put a little power on it, made sure that it soared through the air right into that front corner of the end zone, right into the hands of her cutter.
Well, the sunshine is shining in Bruges, and Tom's Tourney is back. One of the favourite tournaments for the elite European scene. It's an unusual format, hour-long games, which seem quite short. You get a break every other game. So a lot of teams playing 4 games on Friday. It's a 3-day tournament. But the hospitality, Rachel, has been fantastic. There's a big sort of party, hospitality athlete village behind us. I know from the streaming angle you can only just see the one field and nothing beyond it, but this is an enormous sports complex, and the athlete village is manned by parents and family members from the Frisbees team here in Bruges. We've been incredibly well looked after by Boris, the tournament director, staying at his house. It's been an incredible experience. Frangipani sends it deep straight away, no hesitation. Kerr reading it, Kerr getting the block, Chesky goes down. So was it Becker? It was Becker with the block. Let's see that again, making up the ground. Just trying to avoid any contact. I think Chesky not happy.
No call, turnover.
It's a no call turnover, but she's taken a sub. I'm not sure if that was a knee or shoulder. She's grabbing her shoulder, a little bit of discomfort there as she went down. It's such a hard surface. I know it looks green, it looks lush, but this surface is like concrete. And a tap in, Paulina Dull.
Elise Becker with the defense there, doing a great job to read the disc, get in front, get a hand on it. Unfortunately, a little bit of contact afterwards, but Shout happy to accept that turnover as a clean play.
Paola Bass looking for Mondiaux on the reset. Big pressure from Marcazzini. Gets it to Castillo. Down the line, Van Week. Surveys the options, nothing coming for Van Week here. Castillo available. Almost stopped her cut and then had to go horizontal because Van Week had not realized that had stopped Mondiaux. Determined, high hands. The battle against Marcazzini. Gets it down to Becker. The French having to work for every pass here. Mondiaux goes again. Into the front corner, not quite there. Paola Bass with the disc. Looking for a reset, but it's well marked out. Over the head of the defender, who is only looking at Mondiaux, looking at the feet, looking for the adjustments of direction. Tries to find a gap through the middle, and Shout says no. Paulina Dull smacks it to the floor, and all that hard work, Rachel.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Mondiaux thought she could just sneak it past, thought that maybe the defender didn't have an eye on her, but really heads up from Shout there, not going to let them sneak that into the middle. And now with the turn and with an option to score.
That's a good flow. A little bit of breeze building now. It's in the hands of Bengi. He's had a fantastic game, and into the end zone. Paulina Dull with the score for Shout. They've leveled it up.
Shout doing an amazing job there, not letting Yaka get set on their defense, not giving them a chance to really set up and create that pressure that we've seen them put on in other points. Shout flowing really beautifully through their offense there. Every time someone caught the disc, they looked up and the next person was already making their cut, already free, already moving into space. And a turnover and a really flowing offense to put that one in.
I think that's the third goal for Paulina Dull. She has an assist and a block as well, so involved in 4 of the points and getting that block on the goal line there. The Polish World Games player, played for the World Games side, host nation Poland in 2017.
An important player for Shout, and just one of many really impressive names on their roster. We've seen stats coming up across the board for them, and lots of different names get mentioned. You know, when you look at this line, there's so many massive talents. Such a great team to be able to watch this progress this season.
That disc has floated beautifully. Oh, I think it was floating out of bounds, but Tisson catches. Maybe she'll regret that decision. There's a chance to get it to the brick, but going to ground, Delaval, determined effort. Have enjoyed watching Delaval really boss the centre of this Yaka handling line. There was nothing wrong with that disc to Deban, but as she jumps, it disappears below her hands and she drops it. Across to Loli. Finding a gap through the middle, Sofia Scazzieri. Around the back to Loli again. Chiara Loli. Cuts coming, but there was a narrowest of angle ahead of Tisson, trying to get the flow going. A big bid comes in. Scazzieri looking for the options. There's somebody there. She floats it forward, and Paulina Dull with the 4th point of the game. Absolutely storming performance here, and carrying Shout with a break to follow their offensive hold. They are in front for the first time in this one, 6-5.
Paulina Dull knows where to be and when to be there. A really great play again from Shout, just finding those connections and flowing really smoothly. We're seeing excellent play from that side. Yaka just looking a little bit slow to switch on to defense, not able to turn that pressure on after a turnover, not able to disrupt Shout's movement off of a turnover when perhaps they weren't expecting it to happen. So they need to be able to adapt that moment faster if they want to contain this really flowing, beautiful offense that we're seeing from Shout.
You've got to say that that huge bid that came in from
Delaval
trying to stop everything. You know, there was no lack of effort from Yaka, but the shout flow was just too good. It looked like they'd got stuck and clogged up a little bit, but some good, you know, the whole team involved. Scazzieri flowing through Chiara Loli.
Yeah, massive defensive effort from Delaval there.
Mondio deep in her own end zone here. Oh, that was a long first pass to Paula Bass, and she had nothing else to throw at. The Yaka offensive line had moved right up the field. Good pull, creating early pressure for Yaka. Bass trying to get free of the attention. It's down the line, it's just outside from Becker. No complaint from her, she knew that she didn't have it. Elena Bengi now, already with 2 blocks and an assist in this game. Flow down the line, Chesky looking for the continuation, gets it. Big jump from Lagala. Back into the hands of Pagliarani and across to Siebert. Chesky in the corner, can she read it? She just catches it off the top of her fingers. So good to see her back on the field after she took that injury sub, going heavily to the ground in the previous couple of points. But presence of mind there, Rachel.
Yeah, she got a hand to it. Unfortunately, she just sort of tipped it that little bit further outside the field and was unable to kind of get it on a second effort. I think she did have a play on that, so she'll be a bit disappointed to have not come away with that catch. I think the throw was perhaps didn't come off quite as intended. It went quite high, sat quite high, and did tail towards that back corner. So slightly more challenging than perhaps it needed to be. But now Yaka back with the disc.
Paula Bass opens up the big arm. Castillo is sprinting to the corner and catches it in stride and celebrates. Bass has the power, Castillo has the legs, and Yaka are back on even terms at 6 apiece. What a brilliant game we're seeing out here.
That was an incredible offensive look from Yaka there. Paula Bass just absolutely nailing that backhand. So picture perfect. Couldn't make an improvement on that. Absolutely perfect look. And to Maria Castillo in the back corner, who we know she's always going to be trying to get free. She's really hustling for this Yaka offensive line, and she's a big deep receiver. We've seen her score lots of points that way, and that was a wonderful connection. A much needed shift, I think, for Yaka. You know, they've had some scrappy points, they've had some miscommunications, so being able to make that ambitious play and make it so perfectly is a real boost for their morale.
That looked like a textbook one off the training grounds. You know, if we're going to come in with it after a turnover, Mondio picks up on the front corner. Van Week, who's got all the speed she needs to get free. The dish off to Paula Bass, who catches it in full flow, and everybody else knew what was happening after that. Castillo busting it into the end zone, and a dreamy inch-perfect pass connecting the two of them together. Yaka will be pleased with that one. Always nice when the execution matches the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Bass just putting that nearly full-length huck into that back corner, cross-field full-length huck, more or less. Just beautiful, and just such a great demonstration of the quality of women's ultimate here at Tom's Tourney.
The shadows are long and clear. Early morning here in Bruges, under the blue skies and sunshine. We're expecting it to get a little bit chilly and windy during the day, but the sunshine is going to be a non-stop part of the weather here at Tom's Tourney. Different defensive look, Rachel.
Yeah, Yaka coming out with this sort of poachy zone up top against the handlers, and then person marking downfield. It's been incredibly effective against other teams, really making the handlers struggle to find space. Shout don't seem to be having as much of an issue with it.
Deep shot downfield, Tisson's awake. Tisson reads it better. Scazzieri was the target, but it needed a more height to find her in space. Tisson picking up with a chance to break back.
Wind picking up now, definitely going to be impacting the way the disc flies. Hopefully on the field they'll make the necessary adjustments.
Sorry, this will be yeah, it will be another break. It's been such a fascinating game. Shifts of momentum and
Sofia Scazzieri.
Scazzieri with the point block. Oh, we're catching our breath up here. Frangipani, Ceschi, Rika Kerr having the usual hard-running, powerful, defensive, not afraid to get horizontal when it's necessary. Big throws. She's giving a real puzzle for Ceschi at the moment. How do I get free of this person? How do I get free of this mark? Frangipani to Ceschi. To Pagliarani. Ceschi available again. Great positioning in front of the end zone. Sofia Scazzieri, and it's a well-worked point for Shout. Yaka not able to convert the break. Shout's O-line getting it back.
Yeah, such a tight game here. So that takes us to 7-6 to Shout. They're just up by 1 point now. Teams seem to be like trading points, really struggling to find these break points at this point in the game. Both teams a little bit more in their flow, definitely seeing more fluidity potentially from the Shout side. But yeah, Yaka's still very much in this game, fighting for every point. Much more effective defense there, I think we saw from Yaka, but unfortunately Shout able to find their way through. And now a timeout is called. I think both teams just taking a second, taking a breath. This is of course the semi-final game. Really a big fight to try and get into that final later on this afternoon.
Just checking up how these two teams came through the quarterfinals. CUSB beat London Masters 12-7, and Yaka beat Iceni on the stream last night 13-9. So both very strong performances. Jinx beat Seagulls 12-9, and Hrut Ladies, who have been one of the most exciting teams to watch this weekend, beating Frizz Styles Ladies 11-5. So real strong performance from Hrut. And I think even their game against Jinx in the power pool, I think Jinx won that, didn't they? That was the sudden death. I'm just trying to confirm that I was right in saying that no team has been unbeaten this weekend, Rachel.
Yeah, I think you're correct in saying that.
No, Hrut beat. No, Hrut are unbeaten. In the power pool, they beat Jinx but in sudden death, 12-11.
So tight.
So Hrut are unbeaten. That's their only team.
Which is interesting. They're the sort of these top teams competing for these top spots here in the women's division. They're the only sort of unestablished women's team. Of course, they're a very established team in the mixed division, but the rest of these, CUSB, Shout, Yaka, very used to being in these high pressure situations, competing for finals. But yeah, the Greek women doing an incredible job in this as their first outing in a women's division.
Gaia Pancotti looked like she'd made a clean grab on that. Contact made, but she'd eaten up the ground against Castillo. Castillo stays with the French player. Down the line, Van Week. So dangerous deep that she's having to come under. Just a little bit too far beyond Mondiaux, and she's caught an ankle. Mondiaux goes down hard, but jumps up quickly. Apology from Sarah Bonose.
Uncontested foul called there. I think maybe just ankles touched, but definitely impacted Mondiaux's ability to keep running. And I think she did have a clean line to that disc, so without that contact, she would have been able to catch it. So I think that's a fair call and well resolved.
Yeah, big apologetic smile from Bunose there.
I think they're just trying to confirm whether the disc comes in here with Mondiaux. the foul was called, but obviously she didn't actually catch that disc. So they're just trying to resolve whether the disc should come in with Mundi or if it should go back to the throw before.
And she didn't make any contact with the disc. She wasn't like fouled in the action of catching. She was fouled in the process of getting there. But I think, on balance, that's probably the right decision. Mondio was definitely going to get to that disc if she'd not been tripped. Whether she would have caught it, having laid out, is a different matter. But Becker with the disc, trying to find a way around the mark, and it's an emergency bailout, and actually it's a stall out. It's kind of irrelevant whether it's a stall out or a turnover, but either way, it's a shout disc. Becker not contesting that stall out, taps it in.
Funny, they got the turnover, but really wanted those yards that they got from that stall out call. So
yes,
making sure the disc comes in there rather than at the front of the end zone.
And a chance for Paulina Dull to move upfield and not have to be the handler having caught that block. Maybe smart play from Charlotte Terresson. Lawley. Little backward yards to Bengi. 5 minutes left on the clock. Game finishes on the hooter. They'll finish the point if the point is being played. And then if it's not a tie at that point, that's it, game over.
Yeah, still an incredibly tight game here. Another point now for either team could be really significant in deciding the ultimate scoreline. Still anyone's game.
It's been tightly fought, and I would say normally that a game with this many turnovers I'd describe as not being particularly clean, but the defensive pressure from both these sides is what's generated those turnovers. It's been the odd mistake, but most of it has just come from layout blocks, and Caroline Tisson with her 3 blocks.
Yeah, big interceptions from Tisson. I think that the game has tidied up a lot. We saw a huge amount, 11 turnovers in that first point, 4 turnovers in the second point, and since then we've only sort of seen 1 or 2. So definitely the game's got a bit more in their flow. And that's another turnover.
Becker's pressure running through to stop the disc arriving with Chiara Lawley. The disc came from Pancotti. Didn't look like there was anything wrong with it. And a pick called. The diminutive figure, the 2 shirt of Maria Castillo.
I'm a big fan of her work. If you've listened to Yaka on any of their stream games, she's been so pivotal for this team. Really appreciate watching her play.
Mondio looks for Paula Bass down the line. Great connection between those 2 players. Looked like Bass was going to come back underneath, but that was just the fake, buying her the space and time. Becker now for Yaka to level it at 7-all. Time running out for both these sides. Mondio busts forward into the end zone. It's a captain's point. Becker finds the captain. And we find ourselves tied up at 7 each, Rachel.
Yeah, so exciting. Got a great point from Mondio there. Paula Bass putting an amazing throw out to find her in space. Those 2 just working really, really well together, being able to move the disc around the back. And yeah, comfortably finding that point. So now we're tied up at 7s with only a few minutes left in this game. So it's such an exciting and contested semi-final. Both teams really, really wanting that spot in the final.
So in the last 3 points we've had, the offense has held every time, but there's been a turnover each every time. So it's just shows the pressure. Perfect conversion rate for this game is very, very low. The Yaka offensive line have had 1 perfect conversion of 7. That just doesn't make sense.
I mean, it doesn't make sense when you look at the numbers, but then when you look at the defense that they're facing, it kind of adds up. Both sides really demonstrating some incredible pressure on defense. Both sides trying out some sort of zone poaching looks, really putting a lot of pressure on the handler set, making them move the disc around the back, not giving them downfield opportunities. When they're doing person-to-person matchup, it is intense, it is repressive. You know, the cutters have defensive players on both sides right on their shoulder, putting them under a huge amount of pressure.
Yeah, it's 1.5 minutes left.
Just 1.5 minutes remaining.
So this is, if this goes in, this potentially could be the last point of the game. If the hooter goes while this point's going and the next point hasn't started, I think that will be the end of the game. Flinging it across now. Frangipani gets it back across. Lots of sideline action here. So it's a +1 on the cap. So because I think we're in semis now, so we do play a +1. Across to Bonfanti. Back into the hands of Pagliarani. An immediate, uncontested foul.
Yeah, just catching the disc on Mondio as she pivoted. Uncontested foul there. Disc comes back in.
Pagliarani. Ceschi. Anna Ceschi looks for the options. Finds the reset back to Sofia Scazzieri. Powerful line on here for the Italians. CUSB. From Bologna. Pagliarani just sees the disc disappear overhead. The disc is down to the floor. It's a turnover. And Shout with an opportunity now to come back up the other way. Yaka with a chance to come back up the other way and put it in, which would be... now the hooter is gone now, so it'll be a +1 after this, but this is a key moment in the game. Mondio for Yaka. Castillo sends it deep. Valet the target. She's caught it perfectly. Van Week is available. She's got to find a disc to her somehow. Oh, a space to the back end zone. Is it going to be out the back? Van Week catches. She's just in. And what a disc from Valet.
Some questions on field about whether that was in. Some of the Shout players just trying to confirm. Obviously, This is a very important point to make sure that that gets called correctly. They've called it in. That is a point for Yaka. A very exciting pass into the end zone there. A team clearly showing that they're not going to play scared. They're tied up. This is for a place in the final. Yaka very comfortably putting a big sweeping inside-out backhand into that back corner for the receiver and for the point.
Yeah. So the body language of the players here seems to suggest that they thought that was the final. They thought that was the end of the game. We think it's +1.
Yeah, as far as our information goes, they are still playing.
Yeah.
Yaka obviously feeling very excited, lots of energy. Perhaps a little boost, a little momentum shift towards Yaka to be able to come out, get that turn, get that conversion. Shout really needing to make sure that they don't let their heads drop at this really pivotal point. And this is a great exercise in keeping their focus, keeping their resilience in hot, high-pressure situations that will be really important for them as they move forward in their season to be able to manage their mentality coming into these high-pressure, really important points.
I've got to say, the really impressive part about that Yaka offense, again starting with Mondio, finding Castillo with a cut, and then the inside shot to Valet, and Chloe Valet looking at Van Week sprinting free, but what a final execution pass there over the top of the defender, throwing your receiver open. It's what we've talked about a few times on the stream, the ability to see the space, and if you've got a one-on-one as a thrower, you should be able to always find the free space. Perfect example of it there from Chloe Valet, and Van Week with the presence of mind to watch the feet. Yaka coming down on defense with a chance to take this game. Shout having to score this, and a miscommunication there. Lolly wasn't sure if it was her. It goes to ground, and that's given Yaka a chance to come down. Mounier on the force. Gets it across quickly to Pancotti. Ceschi under pressure. Tisson's got another block to add to her account, and what a critical moment to get it. Her 4th block of the game. Signalling from Della Valle as she picks up the disc is calm now, calm. But there's nothing calm about the way Shout are going to have to defend this. Kerr looks at Deban, who's cut out to the middle, and a poach off block attempt from Gaia Pancotti. Can't connect.
Pick called on that cut, so that is going to go back. Shout with an opportunity to get a defense on that pass again, which they're desperately going to need. Really need to stay tight and just try and contain Yaka and put them under pressure, make them make options they don't want to take.
Great defense there from the three-shirt of Frangipani, taking away the preferred option, which was the pass to Della Val.
Seeing more pick calls as the offense just intensifies. Both teams really fighting, really wanting to get down the field or to get the turn, and they sort of just having these little minor collisions. Maybe it's a little scrappier as the energy is high.
Very high. High release from Kerr to Valet. She has it back now. Again, another high release, Valet. Again, the target. Downfield, it's behind the receiver. Della Val can't collect. Shout with a chance to put it in. They looked a bit nervous at the start of this point. Can they steady the ship? They need to score this to take it to sudden death. Della Val diving again for the block, but can't get it. Paulina Dull sends it. Chesky chasing, but their legs just run out of steam. The disc had no hang on it. This is a powerful line for the Italians, but they've given the French one more chance.
Yeah, unfortunately, just not quite enough shape on that throw. A great look, a great option, but just that came down a little bit too directly, moving away from the receiver, and just a little bit too far for Anna Chesky to reel in.
You see the frustration in the way she walked away from that disc. Tisson now with a chance for Yaka. Chesky on the mark. Valet. Almost a big bid coming in from Bengi. Oh, and a big bid does come in from Scazzieri. Bengi picks up quickly. Frangipani, huge foot in the air. Chesky front corner, has to catch, has to watch her feet, and does score. It's sudden death here, 8-all. Shouter back in it. They're going to come out on D for a chance to take a place in the Tom's Tourney final. Yaka in the way. Rachel, what a game we've seen out here.
Unbelievable scenes, really. Both teams are doing a great job of making it as exciting as possible for us watching this. Anna Chesky with the score there, really well deserved. You know, she'd hustled down there for that long disc and wasn't rewarded. So great to see that she's able to then get that score on the stats. Well deserved from Shout, and just such an exciting moment, seeing those turnovers, seeing both teams really working hard to push the offensive line, make sure that they're not giving them anything. Defense coming in hot. We saw a run through D right there, right at the end from Shout. Really great heads up awareness of where the disc is, how it's moving, and clearly a desire to get that point on the board, to make this a sudden death game and to have a shot at that final.
I very much enjoyed Janine Della Val, the way she's played this game, where she's approached this game. Again, throwing herself across the disc, trying to get that block, didn't get a touch, didn't stop Shout from scoring, but the commitment, and when she has the disc in her hand, you get the sense that the French have confidence that it's going to work out.
Absolutely, yeah. Some huge defensive plays. Hasn't connected on those this game, but we have seen them being hugely effective before. And of course, as a receiver, when you see a player flying past you, it can make the catch a little bit less secure, a little bit more frightening, a little bit more surprising. So
mental D.
Yeah, absolutely. Putting a lot of pressure on and keeping that intensity for her team high.
So here we are. The semi-final, the women's division, a place in the Tom's Tourney final later on today. Will be streamed right here by Ulti TV. Elise Becker across to Castillo. Yaka flowing now up the far sideline. Jens has got it. Reset to Castillo. Raking disc, it's been touched by Mondio. What presence of mind to lay out. Second time grab, inches from the floor. What can she do with it now? Paola Bass cutting. Kathy Meisel for the goal. Kathy Meisel puts it in, and Yaka have taken the game. Mondio the hero, grabbing that disc, inches from the floor, and then a perfect disc into space for the cut of Meisel, and Yaka are in the final. Shout, having put in an incredible game, have forced the French all the way, but it's Parisian smiles that grace the fields of Bruges.
Unbelievable scenes from Mondio there. Yaka really working hard to put that in. Mondio got that touch. It looked from the sideline, we thought, oh no, this is it. Like, Yaka have lost the disc, but Mondio said, I really want this. I'm going to put everything on the line. I'm going to demonstrate what an incredible player I am and what athleticism I can bring, and secure that catch right before it hit the floor. Really amazing play. Really calm. An incredible game for both teams. I think we really saw them struggling at different points, finding it hard to find their way through the opposing team's defense. finding it hard to find those connections. But Yaka really kind of coming into stride towards the end of that game. I think they'll be really, really proud of how they switched that on, how they found those connections, and ultimately coming away with the win in sudden death. A huge achievement.
Yeah, we talked to them before and about their mental game, and they really showed that resilience. There was loads of times where the Shout could have run away with it, but they kept in the game. They kept fighting every point. They operated their structures. They executed several of their completely textbook plays where the Italians got nowhere near them. And then when push came to shove, Captain Ali Mondiot laying out, grabbing the disc and putting it into the end zone. Oh, what a game. It's the women's semi-final has gone the way of Yaka, and we need to wrap it up here because there's more action coming here. We've got Shaq playing Clapham, I believe, in the men's semi-final coming right up here. But for now, from Multi TV, from Tom's Tourney, it's Tom Stiles alongside Rachel Douglas, and we'll be back again with more action soon.
Merci beaucoup.
Multi.tv